Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Allegedly Credible. I'm your girl Danielle, aka Lady Faye.
I'm your girl Mel, aka Mel Supremo.
And as you know, we're just two friends and we give advice based on our personal experiences. Lately, we've just been talking about stuff, actually, now I think about it. But this week's episode goes out to all the dads the amazing dads out there, because not everybody's
I'm about to say,
you
could be a father, but like you're not necessarily a dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Mel brought up this topic.
So
I thought it was good.
I just have like a question. So, Father's Day is here, and I was just wondering, do you have to be a good son in order to become a good father? And what exactly makes somebody a good father? Is there some type of subjective truth, like maybe it's like a person-to-person basis, or is there some things are just objectively facts about what makes somebody a good father? What do you think? I mean, you're the girl, the daddy's girl here, so I think I'm kind of leaning on you. Not saying that I don't like my dad, but I feel like I do. But
I am definitely a daddy's girl.
Yeah, I'm definitely not.
My father was. We spent a lot of time with my dad. Like,
your father is still alive.
He is still alive, obviously. I have a really great relationship with my dad. I talk to my dad like almost every day. Well, I talk to both my parents every day, but most likely or not, I'm gonna talk to my dad on a regular basis. I'm not gonna say we haven't had our headbutts throughout the years, but at the same time, my dad has been the very first guy that ever treated me right, my dad was a little bit of everything. He was playful. He made sure that we were about our education. My dad was very spirit-led, he's a preacher, whatever. So he was constantly praying over us. And one thing that he did for us when we were younger that I took for granted was
make Lunchables.
My dad made us lunch every day. Like, he made us lunch every day. He made us breakfast every day and lunch every day. So my dad was he had no problem. Like, I was like, oh, this is the woman's job, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the way my dad thought. My dad was just like, I'm providing for my kids, and that was it. Like, it wasn't about what role was my mom's role, what role was my dad's role. It was like, my kids are going to be provided for and taken care of. But, so one thing that I took for granted was he used to wake us up every morning. He would wake us up and be like, rise, shine, give God the glory. It's a beautiful day. The sun is up. The sky is blue. It's time to get up. And we would have to say, I feel happy. I feel happy. I feel healthy. I feel terrific. And that's how he would wake us up every morning.
Did everybody do that with a smile on their face?
No. There were so many days we would wake up and be like, Dad, go away. Dad, leave us alone. Get out of our face. And, my dad also, read us bedtime stories. That's where my love for reading came, because he was constantly reading to us. He read us Arabian Nights. He read us Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn. He read us Alice in Wonderland. He was constantly reading to us before we went to bed, and it wasn't picture we had our picture books, but it wasn't just picture books, because
novels.
Yeah, he was very much use your imagination, that type of thing. My dad was softer out of my two parents, I would say, but when we got dad mad, But I think that part of that was because he was such a good son. When you said that, when I'm thinking about it, to give you a little bit of background with my dad, he, he is the oldest of 4 kids. I didn't know until years later that his stepfather, which he just calls his dad, he called him Pops. I didn't realize that was his stepfather. I thought that was like his dad the whole time. To me, they looked alike. When
you spend enough time around somebody.
Yeah. My grandfather, to me, he's my grandfather because that's all I ever knew. He came over every Saturday, and him and my dad would cook breakfast for all of us and everything like that. And we ate and everything. He did that until he passed, and he passed when I was like 5 or so. So some of the biggest memories I have are, with my grandfather. They involve my dad. And my dad and my grandfather used to go on trips together. He was always making sure that his parents were provided for. Even his grandparents, I remember my dad would go check on his nana, stuff like that. And anything that my dad's in-laws needed, he was there and took care of it. So I do feel like if first of all, I think it helps to have a good father figure in your life. And it also, so that way, like, you know what it means to be a son or something like that.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just feel like I saw my dad in leadership role, like, my whole life. So it's just kind of like, and also the fact that my stepfather, like I said, my dad's stepfather, who I did not know was his stepfather, I just saw my grandfather, the fact that he stepped in and raised my dad as his own, I think that kind of helped with my dad, wanting to be like, I want to be like this man when I grow up, like that.
I think so too. I think it takes, like, just thinking about it from the standpoint of a parent, children are just like these little sponges that follow you throughout your whole life. And if you're giving that example, like from your dad being in the son perspective, being able to see a good role model and able to pick what he's going to use when he becomes a dad or what he's not going to use, I think is essential in making a better father figure, and can also break generational curses that your family might be dealing with. I guess, like, I'm not going to say, like, my dad is a bad dad, because, like, I would never say that about my dad. My dad was definitely present. My dad made it a point to push us, whether we liked it or not. Like, I remember one summer I went to 6 different sports camps. Well, 6 different camps, just so that I can have all the opportunities. So, like he really gave me the ability to let my wings spread wherever it needed, just so that I can know exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And I found out a lot of good things that year, and I found out that I cannot handle too many things at the same time because I will want to shoot myself. But my dad was very passionate about making sure that we didn't miss any opportunities. He was very passionate about doing things just so. He was fairly flexible, but you had to be within reason. My dad used to be more of a jokester, but I think, like, as he got older, and my parents, they had me when they were young. So I think as we kind of grew up together, the more responsibilities that might have piled on him kind of took a toll on how, lax he could be.
But do you think that part of that had to do with, like, as you mentioned, like, being a son as well? Like, taking care of his what do you feel like his relationship was like with his parents?
Well,
and
my
how
dad
that reflected in his parenting style.
So, like, my dad was the youngest out of 2. My dad was the product of, I think it was his dad's second marriage. And my grandma and my grandfather, they were only married for 15 years. and when they got a divorce, I think it really put a bad taste in my grandmother's mouth. So, not saying that she wouldn't let them see Grandpa, but it definitely created some type of schism. And then eventually my grandfather moved to North Carolina, and my grandma and my grandma and everybody stayed in New Jersey. So I don't think that they were as close.
Mm-hmm.
And I think growing up in a household with a woman as the leader can make a lot of the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I don't want to be mean, but I think that I can see a lot of effeminate ways in my dad.
Oh, okay. I can kind of see that. I don't know if I always had like
And I'm not gonna say like he's, you know.
No,
I
know what
Yeah.
you're saying. Like,
Mhm.
I do think that there's a difference between a mother raising sons versus like having
balanced,
having like a father and a mother.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there are
Nuclear
dads.
family,
There are
that's what I mean.
dads that are out there that are so mean. There
Yeah.
are dads that are mean out to their kids, and they like traumatize their kids. I mean, both parents, both ways. You know, have traumatized their kids in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But I can't say that I had that experience with my dad. I think the only thing that with my dad that I kind of like had a hard time with was sometimes. Well, now that I'm older, I kind of understand it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, sometimes I felt like my mom's rulings were unfair, or some things that she said to us were unfair and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And my dad would just be like, your
Listen
mother's
to your
right,
mom.
you know, blah blah blah. Even though but then later, you know, he would talk to us privately, like, you know, she's under a lot of stress, and you know, this, that, and the other, and you gotta realize this, that, and the other. And at the time, I would just be like, well, why don't you say this when we're in the middle of like, I guess our breakdown, beatdowns, whatever. So I always felt like he wasn't protecting us in some ways.
Yeah, like that's one thing I have to give to my dad. He was very apologetic. Like if he did wrong, or if my mom, he felt like she was like going off the deep end, he would be the one to apologize before my mom did.
Yeah, and that's the same. But I think like now that I'm older, and even myself just trying to kind of like figure out relationships in and of itself, I think that there should be a united front, because your marriage kind of like, I don't want to say it comes first before the kids, but
it does.
It kind of does, because you have to be. I'm not gonna say
it does, because once the kids leave the nest, it's just you guys.
Yeah.
If both parties are still there.
But at the same time, this is where I have like kind of like an asterisk, because there are some really great dads out there that aren't with the mother, or aren't, you know.
Do you think that the reason why they're not with the mother could be the mother?
Yeah, I don't know. Y'all ready for that conversation? Yes, absolutely. I think that sometimes it is the mother.
I think more often than not, you know, people get together with broken people.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And, you know, that can put a big toll on the relationship. You start having kids, you think that that's going to fix whatever the issue is, but it really doesn't. It actually could even make it worse. And the person that's less broken, because when the other person gets in there, in the mix, it starts chipping away at the not as broken person. When they finally get the gumption to separate, they resume what they wanted to do from the get-go.
Yeah, and I think, like I was going to say too, I think that sometimes just because you are in a relationship, like, I don't feel like you being in a relationship is going to affect I'll put it this way. I prefer, you know, a nuclear family where the mom, dad, you know, whatever. But
that's
at the same time,
best case scenario. Yeah.
Just because if you realize that you and the person you created a child with isn't it, I would rather you separate and raise your children, like, work together. You still got to work together regardless.
Co-parent?
You still have to co-parent. And I think that sometimes it's better for the separation because that child now gets two ways of love. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
no matter what, they're still gonna have
instead of being in
that love
relationship where you're stuck in this toxic situation,
mm-hmm.
and now the child suffers. Sometimes I think the divorce or separation is actually better for the child than actually, you know, staying in that unhealthy situation. But I am gonna also say, like, I'm not gonna lie, this to the mothers out there, some of y'all be tripping. Like honestly.
Oh, don't mind me, I'm just taking notes.
Some of y'all be tripping. And when I say that, it's like, literally, if you have a child
mm-hmm.
with somebody, right? And for whatever reason the relationship doesn't work out.
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily fair for you to be upset or angry or anything like that. I don't know if it's going to pick us up from back there.
I'm just looking at the levels, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if it's going to necessarily be fair for you to, like, kind of punish that. By punishing the father, you're punishing that child.
Absolutely.
And I feel like some people get stuck in, like, the relationship and work because he didn't do this for me, he didn't do this for me, this. But you're not letting them, mm-hmm. you're not letting them be there for the child. Like, you're not letting them, like, step up. And there are some things that I've seen, too, where, like, I think I saw, it was on Instagram a long time ago, where the mother was upset because the father had brought his food for his son or something like that.
But not the other kids in the house.
The other kids in the house. But I'm like, to me, it'd be a different story if y'all were still together. And then it's like, okay, I'm providing food for all the family. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
But if y'all ain't together, his only responsibility is that child. Like, if he's actually showing up for that child, you know, whatever, then maybe you should start asking the other parents, the other dads, to come step in for their child.
She said the other dads. You just assumed that chick had more than one baby dad.
Well, she would have had to at that point. Yes, if you have multiple children by different men or whatever, but the one child is, like, the one father is taking care of their child, I don't expect them to take care of everybody else unless y'all are physically together, you have that ring on your finger, y'all got whatever. That's a different story.
He signed up to do this.
He signed up to do that. But if it's not like that and you guys aren't together, you can't force it. But just make sure he's taking care of the child. Like, that's how I think. And I feel like there are a lot of great dads out there that really don't get the opportunity, because I've seen some really amazing dads. They take care of their mother, they take care of the child. They're about it. Like, they're about showing up. You know, but you know what you were just thinking about? Like, do you think that some people have an issue? Like, do you think that the kids that the fathers that take care of their kids are quote unquote like mama's boys?
That's a good question. Do I think that the fathers that are in their kids' lives, the ones like the single fathers, are they more often than not,
or not even boys? Single, just in general? Like, do you feel like because the topic was like, do you feel like you have to be a good son to be a good father? Do you feel like people who are mama's boys are more likely to be great fathers?
No.
And
I will say this. A mama's boy, and maybe I have a bias towards it, but mama's boys literally irk the mess out of me. And I say that because mama's boys are mama's boys for a reason. They like to be catered to. They don't necessarily like to do the catering. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, like, when you are dealing with a mama's boy, like, let's just say, like, we're in a relationship, the mama's boy is gonna be the one that's gonna be whining and crying, like, oh, why didn't you do this for me? Why didn't you do that? I was expecting blah 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 because my mom did it. So you should be doing it. It's like, hold up, whoa. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never been a mama's boy, let alone a mama's girl. But I'm just saying, I don't think that mama's boys, they don't mind having kids, but they kind of want to like do their thing, and then everybody else has to go and cater to them and work around their schedule, rather than the dad or the guy seeing what areas need to be fixed and providing in those designated areas.
But do you think it goes the other way around for like for instance, I'm a dad, like I'm a daddy's girl, so like, do you think that I would have, like, do you feel like that's the same standard for a man? Like, if a guy is coming into my life, I'm like, well, my dad did this for me, my dad did that for me, my dad did that for me, so I expect all this.
I see where you're going with. I'm just going to say that I think someone that's a daddy's girl necessarily might understand how or know their value.
Okay.
More so than, oh, well, you gotta do this for me because my dad did. Like, I mean, and maybe there was a hot take on my part. I'm just calling it as I sees it. So I don't think that women. I can only speak from a woman's perspective. I think that when a woman has a healthy relationship with their dad is teaching them the values of what a woman should provide into a relationship, knowing their self-worth, knowing that you don't need a man in order to be
Sorry, the ice cream truck outside, sorry.
We might have to take a break. If you see us with like the firecracker ice pops or whatever, don't worry about it. It was always there enough. Yeah, I think that the dad would present into that girl knowing their self-worth, knowing that they don't need a man to validate them, that it comes from within, that it comes from God, that it comes from, it's not an external source. Okay. I think with women, when it comes to their boys, I think that women, a mama's boy gets coddled. He doesn't know how to like break off the tit.
I don't know one way or the other because I don't know a lot of mama's boys.
There's a difference between someone having an appreciation for their mom and respecting them versus like, well, my mom can't do no wrong.
I got you. Okay. I got you.
If someone is like that, that's a red flag right there.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. So then I have another question, which we probably should have said at the beginning of the episode, but like, what do you feel are qualities of a good dad?
Okay, I think what a good dad needs to have...
Sorry, before you say that, while I'm thinking about it, we got to list what a quality of a good son is and then what a quality of a good dad is. Okay. So we can do good dad first since you started that, but then we'll like go from there.
I wish I had a son.
She wanted a son so bad.
So my dream son. No. I think that. So you want me to go to the son first?
Yeah. Do son. And then
I think what a good son is someone that. Damn, that's hard, Danielle. Someone that is strong, that is confident and emotionally available. Someone that is able to see the gray area, but know how to like act. Know how to take to action. I think what makes a good son is that, but then what makes a good dad is being able to use those attributes effectively in a mature way, able to another thing about a good son, knows when to ask for help and not think that it's a sign of weakness. A dad would know how to do that and would offer help. So you're like not only being the receiving of all those attributes, but able to act in all those.
Okay. All right. I just had another question as I popped up, but before I do that, let me kind of like actually, I'm going to say the question so I don't forget. But like, what would it be like for, let's say you're a son and you don't have a great relationship with your parents? Does that take away the aspect that you could be still a good dad?
No, I think that there's always the opportunity for improvement. But I just don't want somebody to just do the opposite. Like, well, my parents did this and my parents abandoned me, so I'm gonna be a helicopter parent. Like, no, you learned absolutely nothing. You're just doing the opposite of how things were brought upon you.
So first, I'm gonna say I have 2 older brothers, so I'm gonna go with what I think a good son would be.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm gonna go based on my oldest brother. Like being able to take care of your siblings, like being able to make sure that they're safe at all times. If they're the only child or younger, I don't know. I'm just going through. You kind of, no matter what, because even as the youngest child, I still watched over my siblings. Like we just watched over each other differently.
Okay.
So I would say overall, like being able to watch over your siblings. If you're an only child and your son, it's like just being respectful, of your elders, being headstrong. Like you don't have to be over.
Because I normally hear headstrong in like a negative connotation.
No, I don't necessarily consider headstrong negative. When I say headstrong, I mean like you have a good head on your shoulders. I'll put it that way. Okay. That's the way I see it. You have a good head on your shoulders. You don't have to be loud and boisterous. You can be meek and kind of like to yourself, but like just having that like this sense of responsibility, this sense of duty.
Yeah.
And that is like to make sure that your family is good, make sure your family is provided for. And I don't want it to be like, oh, I expect all this to happen within a man, or like what a son should be in terms of that, because I strongly also believe that a man should be able to, as you said, ask for help, be able to be sensitive and vulnerable. There's so many different factors to it. I don't believe that like you have to be like tough and rough. Like there's so many different.
There's a time and a place for everything.
Things for that. But at the same time, it's like you just make sure your parents are taken care of. Like one thing I know for me personally is like I can't, like as a good daughter, quote unquote, like
good daughter syndrome. That's a whole thing.
Yeah, I try to make sure like even with my parents, like that they're taking their medication, that they're just going to the doctor visits, stuff like that. My brothers don't really look on that side per se, but they do make sure like
they cover other areas.
So it's just like being able to like
knowing your part.
Watching out for your siblings, stuff like that. Not trying to get into trouble, not trying to be out here on these streets, doing stuff that could literally harm yourself and your family.
The sheets ain't never been good for anybody. The sheets are only good for driving on. Let's just say that. People
who are like literally out here trying to
live a decent life.
Live decent life, trying to do things recklessly, stuff like that. So I'll say that. Not trying to give your parents like a heart attack every 5 minutes.
About you're being considerate of what your parents would think. And it's not like, to be judgy about it, but like, okay, I know that my parents didn't raise me this way to act in this way.
Yeah, act in this manner. And I'm not saying that means don't take risks. That's a totally different story. But I'm just saying in terms of like, just being respectful, thinking about like, okay, how does this reflect my family and the people I'm growing in? But at the same time, I'm gonna go with a good dad. For me, a good dad, like same thing, the same values are brought over. Like you're making sure that your kids are fed, making sure they have clothing, making sure you actually spend quality time with them, because there are a lot of people who provide stuff for their kids, but they're not emotionally available for them. No. They're not physically there for them.
It's more than just a responsibility.
Yeah, you want to be able to teach them like life lessons and different stuff like that. So you being willing to be there for your child is to me, that's a big deal. Like that was one thing about my dad. Like he was there for us no matter what. Like, you know what I mean?
Sacrifice.
He did sacrifice a lot for us.
That's another thing. Having that will to sacrifice yourself for the betterment of your family. I think but I don't think that's just a man thing. I mean, a father thing.
That's,
that's just a part of
part
parenting.
of parenting. But one thing I'm going to say too is I was just thinking about it, like, they try to paint a picture in a lot of media and stuff that black fathers are not there for their kids, but that is like furthest from the truth. Especially if you ever I love looking on Instagram, and lately, as y'all know, I've been on a baby kick, but like I love looking on Instagram and seeing like really black dads with their kids. Like, I think that is the cutest thing. I think that is the best thing.
Do you think that it's so cute because of how much ridicule they get? Like, why do you think that you have affinity to that? Not just because you're a black woman. Unless that is it,
I mean, there are a lot of, I'm not going to say that there aren't a lot of dads that aren't out there for their parents, but I mean for their kids. But I think this generation in particular, like our age bracket, I think that a lot of them, personally, the ones I've talked to, have made it a point to show up for their kids, regardless of what their status is with with the mother of their child, whatever. I feel like they have made it a point. And I think that if you go based on just kind of like what social media tries to play, and like I said, the world tries to play, try to play like they're not trying to be there. Like, there's still a lot of single, broken families and stuff like that. But I know a lot of great dads who are all about their kids.
Yeah.
Like, when I tell you all about them, they are all about them. I actually was seeing a guy who was all about his kids. Like, he was about them. Like, he's still about them. So, and I just personally couldn't see myself. At the time, I didn't want to date somebody who had already had kids. I just wasn't there right now at that point. But, like, that does not take away what a great dad he was.
I think,
to his kids.
Like, I know that you used to work in a daycare.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those parents, I mean, I also know what area you were working in, but how many?
There weren't a lot of single parents.
No.
There weren't, no. There weren't a lot of single parents, and there were a lot of dads that stepped up. They were there. Like, sometimes I would see the dads more than I saw the mom, So,
like, they had this thing at my kids' daycare, that the kids could go spend time recess with the parents, and both of Tara and I were both there during our lunch break, and we had fun. But then there was another kid who I knew their parents were separated, but they both showed up, and I felt like that was really nice.
Yeah, I definitely believe, like, that's one thing. You gotta put your ego, your pride aside.
I don't know what their personal thing was. I don't know if she told him to come, but I just know that he was there, and that made the most in that kid's life.
And I think that I honestly think there are a lot of good dads out there who, like, even if they're not in a couple with the mom, they do their best. They do try their best to show up for their kid. That's theirs, You're not good. And my thing is, speaking, just as you were talking about, like, mama, boy, daddy, girl, all that other stuff, my goal overall is just to have healthy relationships.
Yeah.
You have healthy relationships with your parents, healthy relationships with your partner, healthy relationships with your kids. So that should just be the whole thing. Just looking for healthy relationships.
Right,
that should be the priority. And everybody defines what is healthy, being able to have boundaries, being able to speak and work out, like, making decisions.
Conflict resolution.
Yeah, conflict resolution is a lot of things. And you should be able to bring concerns to each other and be able to come up with a solution to,
without a screaming match.
Yeah, without a screaming match. So, I honestly, I don't know. I guess the question really is, like, do you have to be a good son to be a good dad? I would say yes, because some people, I'll put it this way, you can have a bad parent relationship. Your parent might not think that you're a good son, but the outside looking in might be like, you're a good son, your parent is just tripping, that kind of thing. I think it's more about, like, core values, what values you have, what you consider to be important, not important. and just placing your priorities based on your values.
Yeah, I think that the opportunity is always there to be like, just think of it like this: everything in life is a test.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you got treated in the way that you were treated, I mean, in the best case scenario, whether that was a factor or not, shouldn't make or break your decision to show up for your kids. You could have been a kid that was like abandoned at the fire station. That doesn't mean that there aren't good people in your life that showed you what would be the best way to handle being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's from a female or a male or, I don't know, a goldfish. Like, there's something to learn in every situation.
Oh my God.
Like, I think that there's always the opportunity to be a better dad.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely know, like I said, I'm going to go back to my dad, because, and even my brother, because I think my brother's a really good dad too. I think he tries to be there for his kids as much as possible. Could he do things better, in my opinion? Of course, you know, because it's me. But at the same time, I do think he does. Like, I know he had to work last night, but he changed his shift and everything to be there for his baby's recital. He wasn't going to miss his daughter's recital, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he does sacrifice a lot to make sure that they have, you know,
what they got.
And I'll say this with my dad, as I was telling you, like with his stepdad, like I said, I didn't even know that wasn't his real dad. But when I did meet my dad's real dad, I'm gonna say this: I don't think that them not having like a close relationship wasn't like for my dad's lack of trying. I'm gonna put it that way. Like, I feel like my dad was kind of like, you know, you are actually my father. I'm still going to respect you. I'm still going to, like, you know,
honor you.
But at the same time, it was just like, you didn't really raise me. This is my dad.
You're my father.
You're my father. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And
no disrespect.
Yeah, it wasn't disrespectful or anything. I kind of always felt like my dad's real father kind of like expected us to treat him a certain way, because his other he was there for his other daughter. His other grandkids thought the world of him. Me, I didn't know him, so I can't be like.
You know what I was gonna say? So let's just say that you grew up to be, you weren't the best son, and then you have a kid, now you're a dad, and then you messed that up. You always have another chance. You can be a granddad. Because let's just say you weren't the best dad, and your parent and your kids, like, they don't call you unless they have to.
You always have an opportunity to be better.
Yeah. I bet you the best pop you ever met.
But don't just try to do that. I say try to make amends first.
Make amends, definitely.
Try to make amends first. Don't just be showing up like, hey, I'm gonna be the best dad around. And
right. Like,
that's a whole bunch of issues and a whole bunch of resentment.
Because let's just say you go and do that, and your kids see, like, you didn't do that for us, Dad. They ain't never gonna let you see your grandkids. You better make amends. I think another good quality, another good trait for a good dad is to know when to say, I apologize.
Yeah, no one apologize.
Because you're gonna get it wrong.
Yeah.
You're gonna offend somebody. And
I think everything's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And, like, we have to give ourselves grace in it, but know when you fucked up. That's pretty much it. Know when you messed up and fix it. Like, you know?
Just be a man and fix it. No, I was kidding.
But yeah, I would say my dad how can I put it? Like, I remember one time asking my dad, like, you know, how did, like, having the two dynamics of, like, having his stepfather and having his actual father, and, like, how did that affect him raising us? And I remember him saying, which, by the way, we had our moms on the show. We should probably have our dads on the show at one point.
My dad would have to show up. That was gonna be my next question. Has your dad... Dad's a great, right? Dads are great. Has your dad ever did anything that really like hurt you or like made you question like, is this really my dad? Did he really just do this?
No. As I was saying, when I asked him that question, he was pretty much like, I saw what my actual stepfather did and what he did for me, whatever, and I saw what my actual dad did to me, and I just knew I wanted to be
like yours.
He said I just wanted to be better than both of them in my own way. And
that's key.
That's the way
that's
he
major
did it.
Key right there.
And he was like, I love the heck out of my stepdad. Well, he just calls him Pop. Love the heck out of him. I learned a lot, but there are some things I didn't necessarily agree with. But so then I just tried to do that, like take things, emulate them, and then try to do it better. Which I would say my dad did a good job. So I think that like same with my parents, like there's a lot of stuff that they did that I really like, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't like. So I think, with my own kids, whenever that happens, I'm just going to try my best to implement what I liked and then try to do other things better.
Yeah.
But anyway, to answer your question, no, I can't think of a time where my dad has actually let me.
You can't think of a time that your dad actually let you down?
Not really, no.
For real?
Really, not my dad.
There's a reason why I'm in therapy then.
Not my dad per se. Like I said, the only thing I could think of is like when, I didn't feel like he would defend us against our mom like that. But I get it now.
But that never broke your heart. Like you never got your heart broken by your dad.
No. Can we talk about every major life event this chick has. Every life event.
Like that's how you know how important it is to have a dad in your life, whether it's for good or for bad. Because I learned so much from my dad. I had no choice but to learn.
You'd be like,
so there was this one time I was definitely like 10, 11 years old, and I think it was over the summer, and it was in between one of the times I had to go to summer camp. So my dad didn't have anything for me to do. My dad worked in New York at the time. So one day he was just like, Mel, you're going to go and do some summer reading, and you're going to go to the library, and your mom's going to pick you up after she gets off of work. I'm like, okay, I guess. Now, we're both products of the 90s. So do not try to find my parents and call a DIFUS on them. I'm just putting a disclaimer out there. You're not going to like it for all you weak people out there that can't. But this is how I was made, and this is how I'm the person I am today. So, mind you, it had to have been around 9 o'clock in the morning when the library opened. I was there. And then, I'm doing my business, pretending to read, playing on the computer, talking to this librarian that looked like she was 160 years old. When I get hungry, I go to the vending machine. I had a little lunchbox, so it's not like they left me with nothing. So the library closes. My mom gets off of work around, let's just say 4 or 5 in the afternoon, the evening. I don't have a cell phone. It's the 90s. I have a payphone and I got some quarters. So, you dial down the middle, you gotta call collect. And I'm like, Mom, it's getting dark and the librarian left me in the library. Where are you? When are you coming to get me? She's like, Mel, I've been looking for you for hours. Where are you? I said, Dad left me at the library this morning. Are you freaking kidding me? Click. And I'm like, is she coming? It's 6 o'clock at night now, and I fully came to the conclusion that I was talking to a ghost. Because Because I've never once met that lady ever again.
Again with the library lady.
I was talking to a ghost, y'all.
Oh my god, that's so disappointing.
My dad had forgotten to tell my mom that that he abandoned me at the library.
Oh my god,
and
that's horrible.
You know, the way that my town that I grew up with, this was no like, oh, you know, just walk home. No, I live in like suburbia where you need a car
to get from point A to
there's
point
no
B.
sidewalks, there's nothing but farms, and like behind the library is the parkway. Like, I'm not going to walk home because it will take me 2 hours. And plus I'm a black girl in an all-white town.
Right.
They're probably going to think that I got, like, you know, taken and I escaped from my...
Oh my god.
So yeah, I realize that I have some pent-up trauma from that. I still love my dad.
God. I want to say this. I want to say this.
But you know what? He was stressed out, you know?
Yeah.
He was going through a lot at the time, you know?
But you know,
things happen.
Now, she just invites him to stuff like her baby shower or like...
You're not about to put my dad on blast.
Okay.
It's the truth.
All I'm gonna say is all of a sudden he has to go camping. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
One thing about my dad, he loves camping.
He loves camping. No disrespect. We love you, Daddy Paul.
I love you, Dad.
Yeah, yes, we love you.
Let's just say that my dad got the son that he wanted. So it goes like this. So I'm the firstborn. Me and my parents are 20 years apart. So we basically grew up together. Then 12 years after me, got the most girliest. Okay. So 12 years after me, got the girliest, prettiest girl. And I was just like, well, she came to replace me. Because I was not a girly girl. This like princess, pretty, pink, pony loving chick. That's my sister. Shout out to you, Josie. And then 17 years after me, you finally get the golden boy Trent. Trent. Everybody loves Trent. Everybody's saying, oh, Trent, you gonna look like John Legend when you get older.
It's okay, Mel.
And what am I? Oh, I'm just the person that picks them up and drops them off at school.
It's okay, Mel. It's alright.
I love my dad. I love my parents.
It's alright.
But I just understand what my position is.
Right.
So like, you know how we ask, like, do you have to be a good son in order to be a good dad? I'm learning that you gotta be a good daughter to be a good mom. Like, I'm learning something new every day.
You learn something new every day. Well, I just want to shout out all the dads out there.
Yeah.
I love my daddy, so then first and foremost, I love my daddy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shout out.
I love her daddy too.
I'm gonna shout out
Papa Brandon.
I'm gonna shout out my brother. Thank you for giving me my babies. I'm gonna shout out I'm gonna shout out
My baby daddy?
Yeah,
My
the father of her kids.
No, that's the dad. You're the
dad.
father.
I'm sorry, I'm the father. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day of my kids. I love my babies so much.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yesterday we were at my niece's recital and the little one was doing her little thing and she was playing with my hair. So I turned around.
Oh, my kid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I turned around and she's like, help me.
That's the new thing. Everything is a cry for help. Someone take me away from this crazy woman.
She's like, help me. And I was like, oh, mommy. And she's like,
no.
I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
You're not gonna get out of it this easy. You know you're supposed to sit down and shut up. Watch this gosh darn sugar plum fairy.
I just thought it was cute. Help me. But thanks her husband Taryn for having my babies. Happy Father's Day to you. That's all the shout outs I have right. Oh, all my cousins, anybody who's a dad, and my future baby daddy, my future husband, and our kids 3 years from now. You will be a great father.
Shout out to my cousins. Shout out to my first cousin Leon, who's been an avid listener from the get-go. He actually taught me a lot. I remember when he first became a dad, and I was just like, bro, you ready for this? And he was just like, I got no other choice. Like he does it effortlessly. And you know, my cousin Leon, we're like two peas in a pod. Like he's like one of my closest cousins on that side, on my dad's side. And you know, just going, he was the son of my dad's oldest brother. I guess he's a half brother. Cause it's like
they're brothers as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they're brothers. But you know, my grandma was the type of person that would just take care of everybody. Like if you know, that's like a brother from, a son from a different marriage. Like they're all my sons, and just going from the history and us being so close, we now know what to pick and choose from how our parenting styles are. So I just want to say that I respect you and I love you guys, and happy Father's Day to all of the fathers.
Give another shout out to your husband because you had to do it personally.
Happy Father's Day, Taryn.
As always, you can follow us at www.allegedlycredible.com. You can always check us out on Instagram, Facebook, at Allegedly Credible. You know, we're around. So, and next week.
He got a whole episode to himself.
Okay, fine.
No, you know who you are. I love you. Thank you for making me a mom.
Next week is the season finale, so definitely stay tuned for that. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Next week, yes. So stay tuned. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Peace out. Hey, it's your girl, Lady Faye.
And your girl, Mel Supremo here.
And we just want to thank you so much for all the love and support for all the listeners that listen to us. But if you would really like to see us grow, we need your donations.
And you can send those donations via Zelle at allegedlycredible@gmail.com, or
you can Venmo us or Cash App us under Allegedly Credible. Anything that you would give us, we would greatly appreciate it. It's going to go towards some bigger goals we have.
Yep. Thank you so much, Credit Peeps.
Thank you.